conventional a lot of
Mhm.
times. Go ahead.
No, another good one of note that I know you and I have dealt with is people that work in like landscaping, outdoor, where they have variable income because some weeks they can only work a certain amount, but due to weather.
Yeah.
So it's something that people think, well, I make this much per year, but when you have to break it down to a biweekly and weekly basis, it makes a big difference.
And a lot of times, again, depending on the loan program, at least 1 year, sometimes a 2 year requirement in that kind of work so that we can have a picture of what that looks like. So if they just went into it 7 months ago and they had a really great spring, but things tailed off, or maybe it rained a lot, things picked up, there's no consistency. So it creates questions to the underwriter of, well, how many hours are they actually going to work consistently be able to afford the house? So what the seasoning periods I gave you are people that have gone through some tougher times right now. Um, Late payments, missed car payments, collections, anything that went into delinquency. Kind of gives you an idea of what these programs will allow for in credit scores. And then, heaven forbid, we start to see any kind of foreclosure activity, but there are programs that will allow shorter windows of time for foreclosures and bankruptcy. The back side of this gives you a snapshot of some of the most popular loan products that we see right now. And you can see credit scores down to 580 on FHA and VA, 620 across the board on everything else. I'll leave a stack of these as well. Just to tell you a little bit more about myself, then I'll kind of wrap up and I'll tell you what's for lunch. So I've been in the industry 9 years. I've seen things kind of go up and down and up and down. I understand the challenges that y'all face when you're in a hot market, when you're in a cold market, when you have buyers that are barely qualified, but we need to try to figure out a way to get it done. I was schooled under Don Waters, who's been in the industry for, I won't even tell you how long, and learned a lot under him. But my passion is I really want to try to do what somebody else can't, um, keeping within the legal guidelines. So really trying to think outside the box, get creative, get somebody qualified. Sometimes that means that you send me a client, it's not today, but maybe it's 30 days from now that we get it worked out for them. But I really try to set realistic expectations so that if I tell you 30 days, it's 30 days. It's not 6 months. If I tell you 6 months, it's 6 months. It's not a year. And so we really try to lay that out. And then I give them very detailed and specific action steps and follow up with them on. And so we're able to do soft pulls on credit and kind of keep track of how the progress is coming if it's credit related. And sometimes it's just, hey, we need to get some clean pay stubs and make sure you're working enough hours the next 2 pay periods. That gets us through, 30 days. So lots of different things that, again, it's just how do we get creative in a tougher environment sometimes to get the deal done.
And I can attest to that. He's been a preferred partner for our team for years, and he is really good at nurturing the lead. And I can't tell you the amount of times he would call and say, April, what's going on with this person? I'm like, right, who's that person? Who's the bot? And he's like, I've been, we're being honest here. And he's like, I've been keeping up with them. And the fact that he's constantly helping them move their ball forward keeps them engaged and motivated. Whereas most people, when you call, if they don't qualify right then, what happens? They get frustrated, they go and sign a lease, or they just give up. Whereas Joe kind of prepares them for, it's not a no, it's a not now, and this is what it does look like. And he stays on top of them, like, don't forget, don't make a bunch of cash withdrawals. Don't, it's that constant reminder. And he's really great at nurturing clients to help you nurture them, I should say.
Consider me like an extension of your CRM or whatever you're using to drip your clients. Like I'm the human voice to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, it's a partnership, right? It's teamwork. That's what gets it done. I'm not expecting you to work miracles. I know you hopefully aren't expecting me to work miracles, but hopefully we get it done together and it's flawless, it's seamless, and we can celebrate at the end. It's and the reason I do that is somebody that comes front and says, "Hey, I want to buy." Something drove them to that point.
Mm-hmm.
They are paying too much in rent. They are wanting a bigger space. All the reasons to want to buy, get somewhere else. That doesn't necessarily change just because their credit's bad. So now how do we get them there? Right. So it's all the time. It's just kind of evolving, but really working side by side, and first time homebuyers especially because they have no idea necessarily what they're doing. So any questions on any of that? Okay. I'll give you a couple minutes back. Jersey Mike's today. There's like 5 different subtypes. There's a couple veggies, cookies, drinks. So enjoy.
You're awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you.
Thank you. And for those that are listening, will you send my information or you want me to say it
Yeah.
through here?
Well, go ahead and say it, but then we'll send it out too.
Okay. So if you want to email me your, just email me directly. I'll send you this in a PDF format, which is great because for me, I like to take things like this and save them as a photo in my favorites or in my work library, and then I can just pull it up really quick, and even if it's mixed in my photo library. But my email address is my first initial last name, so it's the letter J, PESSOLANO at Fairway, FAIRWAY, M as in Mary, C as in Charlie.com. And I can keep you informed of like other market things that are happening too.
Perfect. You're awesome. Thank you, Joe. Good to see you. You as well. All right, guys, we're gonna jump in. I am like on speed today because I'm so excited about this. If you know me, you know, goal setting, planning, vision boards, those are all my jams. So let me get on this side where I can actually see. Okay, so who is already completely written out their goals? Who's got their, yes.
There's a bag of ice in the freezer too.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Who has already written out their goals completely? Who's got it all broken down and they know they're going to rock and roll? All right, Nicole's helping with technical stuff. If anybody needs technical help getting into Canva, downloading, Nicole's our roving helper with all of that. So I know for myself, a lot of times I'm good and bad about taking my goals list, which looks more like an outline, and just duplicating it for the next year. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as, you know, for me, if I strike something through like I accomplished it, I feel like, all right, I need to put something else there. Now, there's also something to be said to completely moving these columns around. And I break mine down personal, professional, and then I break those down even further. So those are some of the things I want you to get outside of the box on. So in Canva, I love that they've already got these vision board templates.
I just emailed everybody the link for the template that she's on, and it's also posted on the Real School page.
And then don't kill me when I go to the next template because that's the one that I like. But this is just one version. But if you just search templates in Canva, there's also a lot of vision boards. So find the one that speaks to you and your energy and what you like. The biggest piece of this, and Holly started with this last week. So if you missed part of last week, that's okay. We can catch up. But I really want everybody to dig deep and talk up, talk out, and let's talk about when we're putting things on here, we want them to be intentional. You know, this one says help. It's got a girl doing yoga. That's all fine and good, but what does that speak to you? So let's start in help because this is one of the things in here. Can we relatively say everybody in here has getting healthier on their goals list for 2025? Everybody should, because health looks different to different people. So health is not always just about weight. Health can mean mental health. Health can mean spiritual health. But let's just stay in the actual physical health piece of that right now. So for me, I see somebody doing yoga and that speaks to me. And the reason it speaks to me is because I stayed in the chiropractor for years with neck and back pain. And I was like, I don't have the time to go to the chiropractor 3 days a week, 4 days a week. And he said, you need to start doing yoga. And at first I was like, well, that sounds all fine and good and fluffy. He was not kidding. You guys, if you think about it, your spine is attached to your central nervous system, which is pretty much the entire mainframe system that runs your body. And if it is constantly bound up in knots, it throws everything out of whack. So whether you believe in chiropractors or not, it doesn't matter. I believe in stretching and in yoga because it pulls those muscles away. It makes you just being flexible. If you ever remember like how you felt as a child, I know me, cheerleading, softball, whatever, we always had to do stretches. If you've ever done sports, there's a purpose to stretching other than just warming up and getting ready to do something else. So to me, that helped me so much more by making yoga a priority for me. And now Pilates, which I've grown into, and a couple other things. It's about core strength for me. And again, how far I can take that in my goals list of what does core strength mean to me. Core strength is not just physical. Core strength means a lot of things. So I want you to think so much more about your goals than just, I'm going to work out 3 times a week. Okay, why are you working out? Because I want to lose weight. Okay, how many pounds do you want to lose? But keep in mind, when you lose pounds and you start working out, what's going to happen? You're going to gain muscle, which weighs what? More than fat. So if your goal is only to lose 10 pounds and you start working out, it's going to feel counterproductive, intuitive, whatever word I'm looking for. It's going to feel counterproductive. So this is the reason I want you guys to really think through these goals. And when you're putting something that you look at all the time, and I love the fact that these have become digital. I used to have a vision board app on my phone for years. And so the same thing with this Canva, make it lock screen on your phone, make it the lock screen on your computer, print it out and look at it. None of us have time to go through magazine articles anymore and stuff like that, because we're not going to find exactly what we're looking for. So thank goodness we have the internet today that we can just pop right over here and search for an image and find it. So anybody want to talk about some of their health goals so we can look at what specifically that looks like? So for me, I spent this year getting healthier I started with better eating habits. Although I found I cut out alcohol completely because it was not serving me. It was not serving me mentally, physically, emotionally, all the things. And in turn, that created other health things that I wasn't aware of, like sugar cravings that I now have that I never had before. So it's like, dang, I cut out one bad thing and I found another bad thing, which is ice cream. So health to me this year, in the beginning, it started with yoga. So I stay out of the chiropractor. And so I feel physically healthier. Took it up to Pilates. So then I'm increasing my strength. And now I've just started burn boot camp because I miss physically training. I miss cardio. I miss things that are also more beneficial to my health than just yoga. So does anybody want to talk about what health means for you and things that you're going to do? So like for me, the yoga one was this year's kind of picture. Next year, it's going to look more like strength training. It's going to look more like cardio and what ways am I doing to improve my overall health? Because I've done 1, 2, and 3. So now what's 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, and 9? Does anybody have any specific health goals that they can think of? Or you can also use this time right now to be looking at a picture to go in your health goals spots, for lack of a better word. Yes, Dick.
This isn't necessarily physical health, but meditation. I really enjoy meditating and it does good for my mind. So
That's very good.
I want to start doing that more consistently.
Okay. So how much is more consistently?
At least 5 minutes a day.
Okay.
It's crazy what 5 minutes can do to you.
And what time are you going to do that?
When I'm home around lunchtime, I like doing it sort of middle of the day. If not, closer to my bedtime so that it's, wind down.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with keeping it. I'm making you break it down for yourself, because if you just put a picture of me meditating on here, that's big. And now you put 5 minutes. So now I want to see what you're meditating on. Maybe it's just a picture if you listen to YouTube. Like there's a lot of great meditations on YouTube, breathing exercises, things like that. Whatever that specific thing is, that's what you want to put an image of. And then I would put a clock that has 5 minutes on it, or a timer that has 5 minutes on it. So you're reminding yourself, listen, I made a goal of 5 minutes today. When you open your phone app or you open your computer, I haven't had my 5 minutes. Yes, I plan to do it in the morning. Yes, I plan to do it at lunch. The next time you open it up, you're going to be reminded, I didn't take 5 minutes for my own mental sanity today. Is that okay? No. So remind yourself, that's why you set that goal. Versus if you just put a picture of you meditating, it's like, well, I meditated last week, so I'm fine. I achieved that goal. That's why you need to break it down that much further. Who else has one? Okay.
I'd like to lose 15 pounds within 6 months. A little over 2 pounds a month. And I want to do that by walking 3 to 4 days a week.
Perfect. So, and I love that you broke that down as far as I've been asking, because that, when I see you in the office, I mean, I'm like, Sherry, have you done your 5 minutes this today? Have you done your 5 minutes yet? And you know, I can appreciate where you're coming from, and everybody else in the room is like, where are you going to lose that weight? You know, when I tell people I want to start working out, I want to lose weight, people say the same thing. Well, y'all don't see what we look like underneath these clothes. Y'all see the dress is cute. You don't see where I don't feel pretty. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like I look like I want to look. So regardless of whether or not you think somebody needs to lose weight, what we're losing, to me, I'm telling myself, I want to feel comfortable in my skin. I want to look like I want to look with bathing suit on. Whether that's, you know, I love that you put the 15 pounds on it because I know what my weight is to where I feel like I feel healthy and I feel good about myself. But then to take it that next step further, and I love the fact that you're doing walking because walking is also very good for your mental health.
And I also like to run, so the walking is preparing me to where I can get where I can run.
That is very, very exciting. Speaking of, you have a runner sitting right beside you. I cannot relate to you guys that way. It's okay. I will cheer you on for every lap that you go around the building. I tried to learn to run with Jason and he never got to run. So I felt like I was slowing him down. But I know that about myself. I love to walk. I can walk on a treadmill. I can do strength training. I can do all the things. Running is not my jam, but I love that you want to build up to run. Stephanie set a goal how many years ago to run a mile a day? And how many days have you missed? She's run a mile a day every day for 4 years because she set a specific goal that I'm going to do that. And so there's nothing that says you can't follow somebody like that and just set that as a goal. And it sounds hard.
Each other.
Exactly. It sounds hard, but it's just like I got on a 5 a.m. call, realized it was really good for me, decided to start my own because I'm more accountable to them than I was to just myself. So again, I'm taking it back to Jake. You're saying I want to meditate for 5 minutes a day. What time are you going to do it? I don't know. If you don't figure out when you're going to fit that in, then it's going to get to the wayside, which is why it's really important to know how much and when. 70 does it every, well, you make it happen every day.
Sometimes, yeah, it was like 10:30 last night.
Gotcha. But we've talked about when she's traveled, she goes to the gym or she'll run around, you know, she may not run at the same pace every day, but she gets that mile in one way or the other, which is
It makes
incredible.
you feel so good.
Well, and you feel so accomplished. Nobody ever wants to do the hard things, but when they do it, they're so glad they did it every time. Okay. Let's talk about family. Family is very important.
Yeah.
Who's got some family goals they're willing to share? Okay, I'll share mine. When I break mine down, you know, it's important to me. I have some strong relationships, some strained relationships and everything in between, like I'm sure everybody else does in here. But it's important that certain people get specific devoted time for me. So I have broken it down to where I take a trip with my mom at least twice a year. So I will go ahead and try to notate in my calendar like this quarter and this quarter. And then I also have it that I want to do a trip with just Abby and I at least once or twice a year. Now, sometimes that may just mean that I fly to Nashville and stay for the weekend and we just have a girls' weekend. But it's important to me that she gets my undivided attention at some point in time. So when you talk about family, break this down as much as you possibly can, because if you think about it, and for those that work with your spouses, you know how hard this is. Or if you just work from home and you're both there, because you're around each other all the time, it feels like you do so much together. But if you think about when you actually have the sit down, true face-to-face conversations, let's just talk about life, how often does that happen? It doesn't, because you're running alongside them the whole time. You don't ever, it's not like you go on a date, you give them your full attention. You know what Brian and I talk about when we get home? Work. From work, we talk about work. And so my big intention for 2025 is that when in my family aspects, I am devoting a certain amount of time to certain people. Sometimes it's on my terms and sometimes it's on their terms. So what does that look like for y'all? I mean, for next year, I hate to say it, it's like I've already told my dad, I've made it a goals list that I want to be, this is not crazy. If you know me long enough, I want to be your main caretaker. I want, if you got a surgery, I want to be the one that goes to the hospital with you. If you've got to go through this, I want to be that person for you because I've left it up to him. And it's bad when your own parents call and say, I know you're too busy, so I called such and such to take me to do this. That's not okay. It is important to me that I know that they are as important to me as I know they are. Does that make sense? So it's hard when something like that happens and that's what makes you realize they're a priority. So don't make them tell you to make them a priority, make them a priority here in whatever way. I'm gonna keep using Stephanie as an example because I know so much about her life this year. Stephanie takes the week to go fishing with her dad, who's 90-some years old. Like,
Oh, no, you're not.
oh, okay, so I see why.
None.
79. So, and I remember her saying, like, I'm not gonna be on the call because I gotta go. And I'm like, that is by far the most important thing. And that needs to stay so important because when you get busy and when you're running crazy, the first things that fall off are the people that you know love you anyway, and they're the ones that get the least amount of you. So start your year intentionally making them a priority and do not deviate. Like, I realized I'd gotten to where I hadn't had my one-on-one time with Abby. And I felt real bad, but I flew out the weekend before. We flew out the following weekend. We went out the following weekend as a family for their birthday, but I was like, I haven't done my trip with Abby yet, and I don't know when I'm going to put it in. I'm just going to go out the weekend before. So 2 weekends in a row, she got me. That was good. It was good for me and for her. It didn't make sense on paper, but now it made sense. So make sure. So let's talk about how we can break this family picture down. So for me, I can't put everybody in one picture, unfortunately, but I am, so I liked this one a little bit, but make sure this family photo represents what you're truly trying to accomplish. And you're supposed to be doing this while we're doing this. I mean, if you're listening to me and very engaged, I appreciate that, but feel free to be tactically doing this because the worst thing you can do is come to this class and have all the goals and intention in your head and never put them on paper. And then they never happen. And then you're sitting in this class at the end of 2025 going, yep, I'm really going to do that this year. Nope, I really want you to do it right now and do it this year.
Caveat, before you start making changes, do file, make a copy.
Yeah.
Everybody will be.
Well, we're gonna have just a smorgasbord of everybody's vision boards. So I'll pull up and use mine as an example just because there were several things more that I felt like kind of except for the let's cook one, that I kind of resonated with. Like I said, this one is just a little bit more my speed, and I love how it's got little additional things to throw in there. So obviously, you know, making a good financial impact for my family is important. I love having just this little money. All I need is a reminder. I don't need it to be this long drawn out thing because on my actual goals list, I have it broken down as to what my actual financial goals are. But I'm going to put, you know, the pictures that mean the most to me and that I'm going to be intentional about as my main pictures. So let any of these somebody wants to hit on. I'm just kind of going at my pace, but are any of these something somebody wants to hit on? I can tell we're looking at Nicole's because I saw her add wellness 5 a.m. I think that's because we've all realized it's in our best mental health interest to get up and spend that time with ourselves. I've never, ever been a morning person. I'm not saying you have to be a morning person. However, I've done it both ways. I've been a night owl. I live most of my life being a night owl. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look how much I'm getting done. They're gonna be so impressed. They got an email from me at 1 a.m. What happens though, if you're taking that time at the end of the day, all of your actions are reactionary. You're still working off of what happened during the day that I need to give my attention to versus if you start first thing in the morning and you don't check your email first thing in the morning and you don't do those things, you're starting your day and your mental health on your time and your emotions and what you need and not what somebody else needs. Take this from somebody who tends to pour until her cup is beyond empty. That if you don't give yourself, and that's why it became so important to me that I started getting up at 5. But this morning we didn't have a call. I still got up at 5 because I was like, the point was not to see other people on Zoom at 5 o'clock in the morning. The point was to have an hour with myself, whether that's with other people or not, whether that's going to the gym. I know that if I get up at 7:30, my phone starts ringing at 8 and I'm done. It just goes on from then. And honestly, builders start calling at about 7. So,
I'm so agree with you. That is so important. Because you are reactionary at night. Because I used to stay up and I schedule send my emails for 8 a.m. the next morning. So I wasn't talking to people. But when you start it in the beginning of the day, you're doing the things that are important to you, not the things that are important to other people. So like these are your goals and your to-do list rather than, okay, what this person emailed me and that person, you know.
well, and I know we're swirling a little bit, but one of the things too is for me, I can't I can't work on myself when I know people are waiting on me. When I know there's still something out there to be undone, I can't give myself that time. So wellness can mean whatever. Wellness does not have to mean 5 a.m. to everybody, but I feel like that is a very good one. What does wellness mean to you? What does overall mental health? You know, I know Tyler, he makes time to go boxing. There are days I wish I could go boxing. We used to have a boxing punching bag in here. It was for different reasons than fitness, but right. So think about what does wellness feel like? What does wellness look like to you? Is that planning a trip? I'm trying to think of some of the examples that other people have given me for wellness. I'm like, that's not what would make me happy. So does anybody else have any other wellness goals or examples they want to share for those that may be struggling? Keep in mind, there's a lot of people in this room, it's probably the first time they've ever sat down and actually done this. Everybody loves to set goals, like I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they make it this big and this wide. And so there's no way to figure out, did I actually really do it? Or, yeah, I did do that, but did I do it as well as I could have? Did I do it as much as I wanted to? Did I give it the attention that it really deserved in my life? All right, what about habits? This whole 5 a.m. club started because of a freaking book, Atomic Habits. And for the record, there is a app you can download called Atoms. It's from the book Atomic Habit, but you can give yourself any habit that you want to hold yourself accountable to. And so mine goes off every morning at 5 a.m. and I literally, this big yellow thing pops up and I have to hold my thumb on it and it lights up and then it says, okay, you've done your habit for today. So it literally holds me accountable. It sets streaks. It tells me how long I've been doing the same habit. So if your habit is to run a mile a day, you've got a fun little app on your phone. You can make whatever habit you want it to be. And then it asks you why. And so mine says, wake up at 5 a.m. so that I am more efficient and mentally healthy and organized. And it reminds me of that every morning when it comes on, when I hit the button. It's like my own little snooze or my own little, not snooze because I get up, but my own little alarm clock that says, yep. And for those that are task oriented and need to check off a box like me, it's gold because I'm like, yep, I can go back and look at a calendar and see every day that I did it. So are there any habits that you guys want to really invest in 2025? Set a goal for what are your habits going to be? One of mine is always reading. I know that about myself. I love to read. It is so good for my mental health. It's the only time that my brain really just shuts down and focuses on one thing. And I don't make enough time to do it, believe it or not. I mean, I read a lot of professional books, but fun books. And so I need to make more of a habit to read like 1-to-1 ratio is what I'm giving myself, or it should be more like 5-to-1. But I literally at the beginning of the year, I start with, I want to read one professional book every month and I go through and write down what that book is. And if I change it throughout the year, if somebody else, like I heard about one this morning, then I'm like, you know what? Somebody's getting kicked out in 2025 to replace it with that one. And that's totally fine. But at least when I look back at the end of the year, I'm like, how many books did I read? Which books did I read? I know I read a lot of books, but if they're not on my list that I can't actually go through and check off, then I don't feel like I accomplished that goal. So the same thing, there's no reason I can't, like I bought the Left Behind series. I found the whole freaking series at the thrift store and I've heard nothing but great things about it. And there's a lot of books, but I'm like, you know what? Look, there's 13 of them. I can read the whole series in 1 year and that's, a fun read in addition to a professional read. So that is a habit for me that is also good for my wellness, which is also good for my mental health all the way around. Now we're all here because we work. So let's talk about work. What are work goals? What work goals do you guys have? You can say transactions. You can say any of that. What are some work goals that y'all have?
One goal that I made for myself, when I picked my word was relationships. And because I found myself 2023 was about my mother, and then 2024 has been about shifting. My whole life has shifted. But I've always had tight relationships, and I feel like I missed out on that. And so, but that goes to my work. So relationship goes to everything for me. My relationship with God, my relationship with my family, my friends, and then of course with my colleagues, my team, and my clients. So for me, it's going to be relationships. And so, but I have not broken that out yet.
You knew that was my next question.
Absolutely, I did. That's why I brought it up. so good about helping other people, but when it's myself, so I have not broken that out yet,
Okay.
so.
I'm trying to think of examples. You know, I'm big on networking and building relationships.
And now I'm gonna do events.
Mhm.
Okay, so
We
that's
did talk
one.
about that,
So I'm
yeah.
gonna do 2 events. I told each team member they need to meet with me one-on-one this amount of times, and we're gonna talk, not only just business. So I do have that down,
Mhm.
but I don't have everything down.
Okay.
I've got this,
Okay. We still got 3 weeks to go.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I will say, anybody that writes anything down today, there's no reason you can't go ahead and start.
Oh, absolutely.
I almost like make it a point to start new habits in December when it's harder because it's that much harder. You know, make yourself go to burn boot camp when it opens on like a Monday at 5:30 a.m. and that's or 6:30 a.m. That's hard. You know, don't do it when it's January 1 and everybody's there and excited, like I'm gonna take over the world. No, it's really hard on like December 9th on Monday at 6:30 on a rainy day. Do it when it's hard and then you're more apt to do it because you'll remember how it felt that you did it on a day when it was harder. So you're more apt to do it on days when it's easier, such as in the new year. So like, one of my big work goals for 2025 is I don't want to go on one appointment unless somebody's with me. Like
Wow.
if I go on an appointment, somebody's going to be in tow on the team. They're going to learn that way. Take raising his hand. There may be a sign up sheet. I don't know how we're going to do it yet, but I've just realized that I don't ever want to be completely out of production. I have this fear of being unrelatable if I'm out of production completely. And I don't want to forget where I came from. I don't want to forget what it feels like to have boots in the ground, but I do have to greatly reduce my production in order to accomplish a lot of the other goals I have on my list. So this is where I say, like, I keep mine in a Word doc that's got little check boxes and everything. Stuff gets shifted around all the time. Stuff gets highlighted. I have a lot of things I want to accomplish. And in order to do that, I can't go on every appointment. But when I do, it's also important to me that my team not only learn from the other agents on the team, but that they also learn from me. And so one of the ways I can do that is by doing double duty. And every time I go on appointment, somebody goes with me. I'll never forget when Sherry joined the team, her and I've been in business the same amount of time. I just put it out, like, I got a listing appointment. Who wants to go? Sherry, raise your hand. I was like, really? You things, why do you go with me?
There's always something that we can learn from
Absolutely.
every single person.
Right.
Oh, sure, it's all.
Right?
Yeah.
But and when we got in the car, she was like, it was really great hearing you explain it that way. In the past, I've done da da da. And I was like, oh, well, I like the fact that you said da da da. And so her and I were able to talk about like what works for her versus what works for me. But at the end of the day, what in the grand scheme of things could work for everybody. So there's always, just like you said, we can learn from anybody. So that's one of my big goals is if I'm going somewhere, somebody's coming with me, I'm going to have a partner. And that's going to help in building relationships too.
Yeah.
It's because what you'll learn as a team leader, and I'm glad there's a lot of teammates in here, it drives us crazy when you come and say, I don't mean to bother you, but right, this is our job as your leader is to answer your questions. But if you start with that, we wasted 8 seconds in the conversation that you could have just got to the point. Get to the point, tell me what you need. Don't tell me that you hate bother me because you're not bothering me. This is why I signed up to be in leadership. But it makes me feel like you feel like you're a burden. So what am I doing wrong as a leader that you think you're a burden? You see what I'm saying? It's such a vicious cycle. So anyway, that's one of the ways I'm going to overcome that. Like if they're just somebody's in tow with me every time, hopefully they'll get to the point to realize like, nope, nobody's ever a burden in this role. Somebody give me one other work related goal. I'm just happy if they get to making their vision board this year. That's a goal. Having a vision board. What about fun? I am the worst at this. I am so bad about scheduling fun. Fun comes second. And it wasn't until I was trying to convince somebody else that I needed some fun this week until I was like, you know what? If this is one of our clients and they told us they were going on a vacation, we would completely understand. So why aren't we doing that for ourselves? And sometimes we need to hear that. We need to tell ourselves that we're allowed to have fun. We're allowed to take off. We're allowed to wind down. It is tough that we are in a career that people expect us to be on call. We don't get paid like doctors that are on call. However, we can get paid like that. It's all what you put into it. And we can create boundaries and we can manage our schedules. But what does that look like? So somebody tell me what fun looks like.
I've got on my vision board already, we scheduled me and, my family, we've got a bunch of couples. So we're doing a couples trip to Cancun. And it's my cousin, his new wife, they've been together 3 years, they just got married, they were one of my last buyers, they bought a house in, Kernersville. And her birthday is the same day as mine.
Yeah.
But so it's our birthday trip as well. So in September, we're going. I just renewed my passport or already planning.
So I love that you took all that detail and telling us what you're going to do, because thank you for teeing up what needs to happen in that. So don't just say, I'm gonna travel more. Because guess it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna be the right time. You're not gonna have time, just like I've done. I'm now trying to go somewhere the last week of the year. And Amy was like, where's Amy? I thought she was in here. Amy was like, it's really hard to book something on New Year's, right? I was like, apparently, this is what happens when you wait for two weeks before the year's over to be like, we should do something fun. We got one more week left in 2024. Now's the time I'm gonna try to make fun happen. And you know why? Because I didn't make it a priority when I started out on my goals in 2024 to have some fun. All I saw was all the things that we had going on. We got to travel here for graduation. We got to travel here for this. I did not intentionally make time to say, why don't we just have some fun? So
It doesn't have to be, I mean, it's nice if it's a big thing, but it doesn't have to be a big thing. Like, fun means different things for everybody. And, if you can go into like a trip out of the country or in another state, maybe just something local, maybe first night. I start with something small. It is hard for you to take time off.
very
and
good.
Then go from there.
At least, figure out what fun looks like for y'all. Like my husband has said a goal. He wants to play more golf next year. That's fun to him. He bought me golf clubs. That's not fun to me. I don't want to play golf. I'm like, honey, that was your goal. You know what's fun to me? Riding around on the golf cart with him and reading a book. And that's fine. We're spending quality time together, but that's what fun looks like for me. So I'm like, okay, we can book some tea times. Probably not going to swing a club with you, but I will drive a golf cart, hun. Like that is fun to me. So fun is different to everyone. Figure out what that looks like and figure out how much you can incorporate it into your life. For me, it is more trips and travel. So that's why I take it that way. I like to get away. But it can be something as small as picking up and learning to play golf.
It's also easier to pay for it if you said the way ahead.
That was the next point I was getting to. Like, I love the fact that you've already booked your trip, because the next question I would ask you if we were sitting in a one-on-one and I'm like, what is on your goals list? And you're like, well, I want to take a family trip. I'm going to say, where are you going to go? How much is it going to cost? Even if you don't know exactly where you're going to go, because you're like me and you wait to plan a trip 2 weeks before you're supposed to go. You know what? If I had already set aside $5,000 or whatever it was going to cost, it would be non-negotiable, because now I'm like, well, I got $5,000 sitting there, I got to do something with, because I've been saving all year to make something happen. Versus now it doesn't feel like the right time. Now it doesn't feel like the money is worth it. Now it does. You see what I'm saying? This is why it's so important that you start going into it with it at least broken down to, I can't give myself an excuse not to do it.
I think planning like this, just the vision board, the trust, it's like what we do as realtors, it removes roadblocks.
Yes.
So it makes it more likely to happen.
Yep.
So go ahead and put on and I've done this, I have done this. I take 6 weeks out of the year and I block it on my calendar. Now, I may or may not go anywhere, or I know that I'm going somewhere, but it's easier to fill that than it is to try to take the time off. So give yourself 6 weeks. Think big. I usually end up taking 3, but I put 6 down on when my business coach told me to mark it out. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going, I don't know what I'm doing. She said, I don't care, just put it in there.
Right. I mean, what if you decided to take a vacation? So far, I've negotiated 3 days. I think we're up to 3 days. I get to go away. That's where we're at. I'm gonna call it night. It was so funny. I messaged her. She's a past client of mine, and all she does is travel for a living now. I want to be here when I grow up. And I messaged her. I was like, "Hey, decided I've got to go somewhere over New Year's." And her message back to me said, "This year?"
Yeah, I said.
Yeah. Fine. Oh, I forget. Yep. It's gonna cost 3 times more if you wait till 3 weeks before. Just fun fact. Okay, so here's what I want to do now. I am going to leave you up to your own devices. Nobody here is actually making their vision board happen. So we're going to make these tactical for the next 15 minutes. Talk amongst yourselves, figure out what your goals are, but make it happen in your vision board, because some of you are just sitting there not doing it. And we're going to spend part of this time being tactical and not just talking about it. So,
If you need help with Canva, I'm happy to.
yeah, I mean, we've got time. If this goes past 12, it's fine, because you guys are working on this, or lunch, everybody settle in. This is important.
It only took me an hour with the time.
On a call, the textbook before, I'm gonna. We did, but I don't have the patience for that. Stick everywhere.
This way, and I feel like it's easier.
Well, this way we can make them more specific to us instead of just finding a nice car and be like, I want to buy a new car. No, I'm gonna take a picture of the car that I'm gonna get. Go.
Look, I resized it.
Right.
I like that.
I'll be right back.
Megan says you don't want that we're doing, but you don't have to just pull it up, and that's the one that I did.
One more thing.
God.
When you're doing your goals or you're looking at, and most of y'all heard me say this before, but when you're reviewing your goals from 2024, I need you to make another list that says, but I did.
Mhm.
There's gonna be things when you're going down your goals list that you did not accomplish. But I need you to make a list of the things that you did do. It was not starting at 5 a.m. club on my goals list for 2024. So it's going on my but I did. So make sure that you are giving yourself credit for the things that you did do instead of beating yourself up for the things that you did. And it remind me, because that's on my list. It's not on my goals list, it's up this year.
Here we are. For all of us.
Whatever.
I think I dropped that. Not touchscreen, I guess. And then literally the book said, yeah, but we have that. Oh, the book. Otherwise, I really don't like those. Yeah, I'm putting it. Like element. And I've been like, so, yeah, like morning routine, drop a picture, you know.
Yeah.
It's literally that's 90%.
I got it. Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I'm fine. All that work, I want to say hi to Sherry. And throw some paper.
I guess.
I mean, you don't have a specific one of the gym. I've actually said. Let me know. No, I'm good.
I don't look like it's in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, we got.
Yeah, camera, I probably won $10,000.
The lynch, the Wi-Fi, real estate advisors. That's how quick you have to.
I'm
good.
Had I not been going to the gym all the time.
See,
I'm looking for a hair.
what the heck?
Yes, so.
Okay. You just have to.
Thank you.
You're developed.
I know you
See somebody on the. What if I add and if I add, I'm sorry, I would like.
Or.
Yeah, whatever, I use your own, you can use your own, whatever you can, what I did when I updated mine is I went on Google, so you can open it in maybe another tab. And put in Google, search whatever you want, or like you said, you can go back to this, you can do elements. And then look, you just type in whatever you have in mind, you know. You're not gonna look so sure, that's all. So I think that will work.
I'm not sure.
And see like stuff pops up. So under elements. Yeah. Or if you have a picture of like yourself, you can just use the upload function.
Right.
Or if there's a picture of like a specific place, you put it on Google, so whichever of those. But once you have it here, you can literally drag it
Right, okay.
wherever you want. So you should have that like.
I'm good at better and I need. We need a more better.
I love how you shut.
She really had, and he. Oh, yeah, there we go. And it's another. I saw the puppy. And so,
If when you get in there, if you just do file, make copies, because if not, it'll be on the same file everyone else is. And so I like that to this.
So thank you.
Anybody have any?
Sam did open house. I don't really have the listing in.
We need like, we need really tough tape for that.
Who has the list? Somebody on April student team. Anyway. Find out what the listing is. See if they'll let me do it. She said, I mean, some people come to do it. Every single one has a name. She was commented on it. I had an appointment. I said, so who? One of the buyers meetings, who I ready to buy them, and how she correct, she in both. Saturday and Sunday there, and she didn't think she had anything. She showed property, I almost wrote an offer, for the small office in fact, I was like, how do you need this funeral? I see, and she said, it was calling, we're going to do choice, I won't make on that day, it's not for that. Oh, yeah, but I didn't have to on this one, but anyway. When we got to go here again. I mean, in minute, Jonathan, but I didn't know. That's what we have the clients. To do things, you don't know. But I mean, really, it's kind of bad. Like, I started to get a lot of business. But I got okay. That's why. It's been one of them. Yeah, that's one of my mother's would count. From there, this is like. They grow up and then I'll be here. I'm part of it. Yes. I was that in regards to this. It's not there. Well, sure. My mom, yeah, she's not the daughter.
Then every year in school, it's much shorter than everyone else. It's the same.
Oh.
She did it. Which is crazy. Because the triplets change, almost 6 feet.
And you know, that's she picks up a hat. You say we're not. I was like that. I said my day and said that because we like out of the you know in the house.
Holy crap.
I'm like man, I'm like I can't until I was kind of that was you gotta be like for my like a pole say hello.
And so Jonathan, I took him on. So,
Yeah.
you know, we were pushing it.
I'm like 5'6", 5'7", and then I run.
You know, I got.
Yeah.
My
girlfriend's so short.
So he's just doing that. But potentially.
You're really short. I mean.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he had it with two.
No one has ever been to one of them, but it was never intentional, but.
Yeah.
And he said this like
Alex,
manager, and then she never was off back or whatever.
Yeah.
But then,
He was like, everybody short, and
when I wear heels, I'm taller than that.
I say, yeah, and you were, I'm like,
And I wear them all the time, so I'm not more taller.
yeah, I like.
They're not like a car.
Then I have.
Shorter writing is really.
Find something to connect with.
Most guys are taller.
And it's super non-threatening. It's like.
really well.
But I'm 5'5", so that's why I'm very strong.
She like.
I heard you.
I'm wide at work, I'm like, I'm wide at. But
I would love if they were to.
step into that.
like, in about this.
Job because
Like,
we're on vacation.
she's like, "No, I'm gonna get. And I'm like, I need our heels, so I can walk into the it's all professional and stuff, and get out there, and like, I'm not really Melissa.
But she did not like this walk.
But I'm not even joking about that.
And you walk anyway.
I was so much actually.
There's no way, and that's why I'm just like, I'm that person that people walking around and you don't have it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I look at them and you're behind, like.
And then privilege.
She had the hard work.
Now they're still showing my.
Well, like, you're not supposed to be bending. Well, Is that?
You did. Last year.
My mom's really such a shit, I'm saying, because she's familiar in the business, and I just show her how to do it because it's driving me crazy.
So, shout out, I mean, I love her.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, yeah, she's great. Yeah, just have to grow up.
Except for the 2-year-old.
Yeah, that's really tough.
It's all up to now. And this is really. This might come through the whole traveling. You know what it's like. Yeah, I did not.
Oh, she just saying, so that you can. Scrolling, and all of a sudden this. Listening to you.
It's fun to like that. Well, I was only
Yeah.
finished out school time, so I didn't get summer. Yeah, I did what I could.
It should.
What are you
but-
talking about? Actually, you're the best job I ever had, like, right,
Mm.
from 9 to 1.
And people.
It's-
You know, I mean, if I'm just going to, you know, sort of, I'm like, my son, it's not. Stuff that he knows. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are we gonna do? But no, I get that, but you gotta find a way, if it, you know, you have to find. Something, you know. So.
What else you put on?
Right, the one.
Decided don't try it. But I was excited.
What?
Tell me that.
Besides that,
Excited about it.
you really don't want to feel that on your team.
But I was like, it's just never. You know, I am just big.
You're not, I think.
You know, I was like that when I got it from All right, and I go, I said, I'm okay, well, I didn't say this for like,
You know,
6 years.
They will tell you.
I am
But then
going
they're
to.
serious. You don't want me to feel complicated, complicated, because then I will. I don't like.
Do you not like the sugar?
Joe movies Back to the Future. Yeah, well, I haven't seen it though. Is that the kid?
Yeah.
Okay, then, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just. But, yeah, it's.
Think about it.
So Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox.
He has like a.
Yeah, he started, you know, Michael J. Fox Foundation over like 20-something years ago. His goal was to shut down like foundations, but was gonna shut down my terrorist now. I think it'd be easier for the.
They didn't know each other, like me and.
So my mother. I was like, what is happening?
They kind of.
And I feel like the walks and stuff like that, but,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so I was gonna do it, a little more, but then I just looked it and.
She's.
And so it's not.
Okay, yeah. Apparently I'm supposed to dance. I'm just shooting.
Right.
Yeah. Trying to find the best to do it. One. Or something. Which I. I was a topic for years, she switches ball and.
Take a look at it.
So I'm trying to find how I want to do it. People in the middle. Real swing is fun on West Coast.
Don't forget there's lunch out there.
Or some couple related, so I think I like. I don't know, there was a he was still.
My old bus driver, this is so random,
My old bus driver in New York, he was a swing dance teacher for the school.
Just so y'all know, there are not any more classes for the rest of this year, the 18th and obviously the 25th, we're off, and we come back on 8th. Yeah, right, here for Christmas.
My boy's birthday.
Pancakes, yeah, they-
Well, I mean, it's a whole thing, like, I have the
Yeah.
hurdles in there, like, I haven't looked into it, you know, people volunteer for that, so people are, and that's.
Mhm.
I think that's like all of it goes to.
Oh, I forgot.
And they get to go. I love those. You know, you gotta average how many days. You go,
Yeah.
yeah, so, but I'm saying it's like. Yeah. So,
Hey, you guys, this is your